Hey everyone, ready to have your minds blown?
I think so.
Because today we're tackling a concept that'll seriously warp your perception of time.
Time.
You know that thing we always say there's never enough of?
Oh, right. Time.
Yeah, forget your calendars and clocks.
Oh, okay.
We're going deep, deep into how time is perceived in Indian thought.
That's a pretty big topic.
It is. And guess what?
What?
It's going to completely challenge that linear timeline we're so used to in the West.
So no straight line from beginning to end.
Nope, more like cycles within cycles, a cosmic dance of creation, preservation, and destruction.
Sounds intense.
Oh, it is. It's not just about calendars either. This shapes how history, mythology, even the lifespan of the universe are understood.
So like a completely different framework.
You got it. And luckily, we've got some awesome sources to guide us. We'll be looking at conception of time in Indian culture, Purāṇas measurement and conceptions of time, and time as a metaphor in Indian history.
Okay, I'm ready. Where do we even begin?
How about with the basics? You know, like how this whole cyclical time thing actually works.
Okay, picture this. Time, not as a straight line, but as a wheel, constantly turning.
A wheel?
Yeah, a wheel. And this is a core concept in lots of Indian traditions. Time isn't moving towards some finite endpoint.
So no finish line?
Nope. Instead, it's endlessly cycling through these different phases.
Wow, that's really different from how we usually think about it here.
It is. In the West, we tend to view time as linear, past, present, future.
Yeah, all neat and tidy.
Right, all neatly laid out in chronological order. But in these Indian traditions, time is cyclical, repeating in these grand patterns.
Okay, I'm getting a sense of it, but how does this wheel of time actually work? Like, what are the units or the segments within these cycles?
Think of it this way. Each rotation of the wheel, that represents a kalpa.
Kalpa.
Yep. It's an incredibly vast period of time, like billions of years. Cosmic timescales we're talking.
Billions,
Okay.
with a B. Okay, my mind is already starting to stretch.
Mm.
And what happens within a kalpa?
Well, within each kalpa, there are these, cycles within cycles.
Deception.
Kind of. Imagine a smaller wheel turning within that larger wheel of a kalpa.
Okay, I think I can picture that.
And these small cycles, those are called yugas.
Yugas, got it.
And there are 4 of them: Krita, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali.
So it's like a cosmic clock.
Exactly.
With multiple hands moving at different speeds. We've got the kalpa, that's the big hand, making a full rotation over billions of years. And then these yugas, those are the smaller hands cycling through their phases within that larger time frame.
That's a great analogy.
Is that right?
Yeah, you nailed it. And each yuga, it represents a distinct age, with its own unique characteristics.
So they're not all the same.
No, not at all. The Krita Yuga, that's considered like a golden age.
Golden age sounds nice.
Right. It's a time of harmony and spiritual enlightenment.
Peace and enlightenment. Sign me up.
But as the cycle progresses through the Treta, the Dvapara, and then finally the Kali Yuga, things gradually decline.
Uh-oh. So it's like a downward spiral.
Kind of, yeah. A movement away from that initial state of perfection.
So we're in the Kali Yuga now. Is that what you're saying?
That's the traditional understanding, yes.
Explains a lot. But wait, what happens at the end of a Kali Yuga? Do we just hit a cosmic wall and, everything stops?
Not exactly. Remember, we're dealing with cycles here. At the end of a Kali Yuga, the universe goes through this process of destruction and then renewal.
Like a cosmic reset button.
Exactly. It starts a fresh cycle with a new Krita Yuga.
So it's not just about a beginning and an end. It's about this endless cycle of death and rebirth.
Precisely.
That is mind-blowing. And this entire cycle, the 4 yugas making up a kalpa, that all happens within those billions of years you were talking about.
That's right. The Purāṇas measurement and conceptions of time, it actually goes into great detail about the calculations and durations of these yugas and kalpas. It's pretty amazing how these ancient texts really try to grapple with such vast timescales.
Okay, let me see if I've got this straight. Yugas, cycles within cycles, And then the even bigger kalpas encompassing billions of years.
You got it.
My head's spinning a little.
It's a lot to take in, but what's even more interesting is how these concepts of cyclical time, they're not just about cosmology. They're deeply intertwined with Indian mythology, philosophy, even social structures.
Okay, I'm ready to go deeper.
Let's do it.
But first, I think we need to give everyone a moment to, process all of this. We're talking about a whole different way of understanding time. One that sees it as this vast repeating pattern rather than a straight line.
Yeah, it definitely challenges those assumptions we have about how time works.
Right. And I think we've just scratched the surface.
Oh, absolutely. As we explore further, you'll see how this cyclical worldview shapes not only the Indian understanding of the cosmos, but also their perception of history, human existence, even the fabric of reality.
Wow. I can't wait.
Me neither. So we've been really digging into this idea of cyclical time. Kalpas stretching over billions of years, those yugas marking out different eras within them. It's amazing how these concepts, they're woven into the fabric of Indian thought.
It really is a whole other way of looking at time, isn't it?
Totally. And it makes me think about how this cyclical view shapes the way history and even human existence are understood.
Yeah, that's a great point. How does the idea of progress fit into all of this? Because in the West, with our linear view, progress is always up and to the right.
Exactly. Always moving forward, innovating, striving for something better. But in this cyclical framework, progress takes on a whole new meaning.
So instead of always pushing forward, is it more about understanding where we are in the cycle?
You got it. Each yuga has its own unique characteristics, its own strengths and weaknesses. It's not necessarily about getting better, but more about understanding that ebb and flow of existence as we move through these different phases.
Yeah, I can see that. It's each yuga presents its own unique challenges and opportunities. It's not so much about reaching some final destination, but navigating the cyclical nature of time itself.
Exactly. And this cyclical view of time, it's really intertwined with another big concept, reincarnation.
Right. If time itself is cyclical, then why wouldn't individual lives follow a similar pattern?
Exactly. Each life becomes a small cycle within the larger cycles of the yugas and kalpas.
So it's not just the universe that undergoes these cycles of creation, preservation, and destruction. Individual souls do too.
Yes. It's each life is a drop of water in a vast, ever-flowing river.
Wow, that's a powerful image. It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Definitely. If each life is just one chapter in a much longer story, a story that spans countless cycles of time, well, it changes how we view things success and failure, even the meaning of life itself.
So it's not about reaching some final destination, but about the journey itself, the lessons learned, the growth experienced through each cycle.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. It's that linear view of time, it puts so much pressure on us to achieve something specific in this one lifetime. But this cyclical view, it offers a more expansive perspective.
One that encompasses this much grander scale of time.
Right. And time as a metaphor in Indian history, it actually dives into how this cyclical view can even shape social structures. Take, for instance, the concept of dharma.
Dharma.
Yeah. It's often translated as duty or righteousness, but it's closely tied to this idea of cosmic order, fulfilling one's role within the grand scheme of these cycles.
So it's about understanding your place within the larger cycles and acting in a way that maintains balance and harmony.
Exactly. And it shows how this understanding of cyclical time, it really permeates so many aspects of Indian thought. It's not just some abstract philosophical idea. It influences how people understand their place in the universe, their relationships with others, even their moral and ethical choices.
It's almost like these cycles of time provide a framework for not only understanding the cosmos, but also for living a meaningful life.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's a completely different approach to life, one that emphasizes interconnectedness, that constant flow of change, and the understanding that everything is part of a larger cyclical pattern.
This is all so fascinating.
Okay.
But before we get too lost in those grand cosmic cycles, I'm curious, how does this cyclical view play out on a more personal level? How does it influence how individuals experience their own lives? Their joys, their sorrows, everything in between.
That's a great question, and one that deserves some more exploration. I think we need to take a moment to, let everything we've discussed sink in, and then really delve into the personal implications of this mind-bending concept of cyclical time.
Okay, so we've been on this incredible journey exploring cyclical time in Indian thought.
It really is a mind-bending concept, isn't it?
It is. It's definitely challenged the way I usually think about time.
I think that's one of the amazing things about, diving into different cultures and philosophies.
Totally. And we've covered a lot of ground, from those massive kelpas, those billions of year cycles.
Right, and those yugas marking the distinct eras within them.
Yeah. But what I've found most fascinating is how this idea, it's not just some abstract cosmic theory. It really shapes how people understand their own lives, their purpose, their place in the grand scheme of things.
That's a really important point. It makes me think about how, in a linear view of time, death can feel like, well, the end, a full stop.
Right, like it's all over.
Exactly. But in a cyclical view, it becomes a transition, like a doorway to the next phase of the journey.
So it's less about fearing the end and more about understanding it as part of a larger cycle.
Exactly. Reincarnation, which is central to so many Indian traditions, it's deeply tied to this understanding of cyclical time. Each life isn't seen as isolated. It's like a thread woven into this much larger tapestry.
A tapestry that extends across, countless lifetimes.
That's right. It's like each life is, a brushstroke on this vast canvas.
Okay, I like that.
Contributing to this masterpiece that's constantly evolving through these cycles.
And that understanding must profoundly impact how people actually approach their lives.
Oh, absolutely. If each life is a learning experience, a chance to grow, then challenges and setbacks, well, they take on a whole new meaning.
So it's not about getting stuck on those failures or disappointments. It's about seeing them as part of this larger process of growth.
Yes. And it's not about, striving for some ultimate goal in this one lifetime, but embracing the journey, learning from experiences, continuing to evolve through each cycle.
It's a very, very different way of framing things. It makes me wonder, could embracing a more cyclical view of time actually help us, navigate some of the anxieties that we feel with that linear view?
It's a really interesting thought, isn't it? In a world obsessed with, constant progress and achievement, maybe there's something really liberating about embracing this ebb and flow of the cycles.
It's about acknowledging, I guess, that there were times for growth and times for rest, times for creation and times for destruction.
That's it. It's all part of the dance.
So where does all of this leave us? What have we learned from exploring this idea of cyclical time?
Well, I think it offers a profound invitation to really reconsider our relationship with time. Not just as this measure of our lives, but as a fundamental force shaping the universe and our place within it.
It's definitely been quite a journey.
It has. And even though we've only scratched the surface of this really vast and complex topic, I hope it's sparked a sense of wonder, a curiosity about different ways of experiencing time.
Oh, it has for me, for sure. And who knows, maybe embracing even just a little bit of that cyclical perspective could bring a little more balance and peace into our lives.
Well,
something to think about, right?
Absolutely. And as we keep exploring these different worldviews, I think we can find new ways to understand ourselves, our place in the cosmos, and the nature of time itself.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this amazing deep dive into cyclical time. Until next time.